In an unprecedented move just weeks before the presidential election, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence will no longer offer in-person briefings to Congress on election security and foreign interference. According to a congressional official briefed on the matter, the decision comes as the Trump administration seeks to halt the in-person briefings, reportedly over concerns over leaks. Congressional intelligence committees will still have access to classified written intelligence reports, but the cancellation of in-person briefings means Congress will not be able to question officials about what's behind the reports. And now, new reporting by NBC News says that the FBI and DHS plan to brief Congress on cyber threats to election security and disinformation, but not on the plans and intentions of foreign adversaries. In a statement to NBC News, the FBI said, quote, "The FBI is committed to keeping Congress informed on election security and malign foreign influence threats. Protecting our elections remains a top priority to the FBI. We decline to comment further." DHS has yet to respond to NBC News. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, the acting chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, issued a statement that said, in part, "This situation we now face is due in no small part to the willingness of some to commit federal crimes for the purpose of advancing their electoral aims," but also said the leaks should not, quote, "release the intelligence community from the legal obligation to brief Congress." Joining us now, former CIA Director John Brennan. He's a senior national security and intelligence analyst for NBC News. Also with us, member of the Intelligence Committee, Independent Senator Angus King of Maine. And Senator King, I would just like for you to state for us very clearly, if you could, why it's important to be able to ask questions and have those briefings.
Well, the clearest way I can put it, Mika, if you took everything you just said and strike the word Congress and insert the American people, that's who's really getting used in this situation. This is information that was collected by the intelligence community, and they owe it, we owe it, the government owes it to the American people to tell them what they know in order to help them make a good decision on November 3rd. This is really not a spat between Congress and the president or Republicans and Democrats. This is a fundamental obligation, I believe, that if the intelligence community learns that our election is being manipulated or interfered with by a foreign government, they should tell Congress and through them the American people. That's what this is really all about. Who do these people work for in the intelligence community? My vote is they work for you and me and all the people of America. They don't work for the president. They don't work. Their oath is to the Constitution, not to any particular president.
And Director Brennan, what is, in your respect, I mean, the response would be that, well, you're going to get the written reports so you can read them. Is that not good enough?
Well, I think, as Senator King said, it's important to have that back and forth between our elected legislators and intelligence professionals. It's important for our members of Congress to understand fully exactly what foreign nations and intelligence services are doing to interfere in our election. And this move by the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, to cancel or to sharply limit the type of interactions with Congress is very worrisome. Consistent with what your previous guest said, it's part of the administration's overall strategy to prevent the flow of information or intelligence to Congress that could be detrimental to Donald Trump. It also prevents the full extent of Russian interference in our elections from being known. And we know that Russia's help in 2016 helped get Donald Trump get elected, and we already know that the intelligence services of Russia are trying to denigrate Vice President Biden. So I think it's just one more indication that Donald Trump will stop at nothing to stay in office beyond 2021. I think Senator King and other members of Congress are right to be concerned about what is happening right now with the intelligence community.
So, John Brennan, though, is there any other reason Director Ratcliffe would head up a decision like this? Do you think it is to protect bad information about Donald Trump from coming out? Is there any other reason to do this?
Well, his stated purpose in his letter was to ensure clarity and consistency in the briefings that go to Congress. That can be achieved with good management and oversight and review and coordination of those briefings. He says that it's designed to protect source and methods. Well, I don't agree with that at all. I briefed members of Congress repeatedly during the 2016 election on Russian efforts to interfere in the election. And so I do think it's just an effort to try to stifle and to suffocate the flow of information to Congress, because Donald Trump fears what Congress can do as far as exposing a lot of his activities that I think the American people are, quite frankly, fed up with.
Jonathan Lemire.
Senator King, what recourse do you have, perhaps, to get the administration to reverse itself here? And could you talk to us a little more about what you have seen, what you've been briefed upon, as much as you're able, in terms of election interference this time around? We know what happened in 2016. We also know that in recent weeks there have been warnings from ODNI and other agencies that whether it's Russia or China or Iran, other countries are trying once again to interfere with this election. What are you seeing, and is this administration doing enough to stop it?
Well, the answer is no, not enough. And you're right. That's what makes this so frustrating, Jonathan, because a month ago they told us that the interference was happening. Now what they're telling us is, but we're not going to really give you any more clear information. And John Brennan made an important point. The letter, which a carefully lawyered letter from the head of the Director of National Intelligence, says we're going to give written briefings. That'll be sufficient. I bet I've sat through 200 or 300, 400 hearings in the Senate since I've been there. And I've never seen a time when the questioning didn't elicit new and important information other than what was in the carefully edited, dry transcript. So having an in-person briefing, and your basic question is, what can we do? Well, I've been in touch with the leadership of the Intelligence Committee. We're already trying to work with the Director of National Intelligence to walk back this position and to at least share this information directly with the intelligence committees, which our committee, I think, has a very good record. I don't recall a leak incident in 8 years that I've been on the committee. So we can handle classified information. But the other question, of course, is, should it be classified? Or are they classifying it because it's embarrassing, not because it compromises national security? That's a whole separate issue.
Director Brennan, very much on the subject of Russia election interference, particularly Russian election interference. A week or so back, you sat for an interview with John Durham's investigators as part of the Justice Department's probe into that investigation. You were told that you were a witness, not a target. Can you please illuminate to us what that interview covered, as best you can, what that interview covered, and what do you think of that probe happening right now as we head into the final weeks before the election?
Well, the interview covered a wide array of issues, from what the intelligence community and law enforcement community did during the 2016 election campaign to the drafting of the intelligence community assessment. And John Durham and his team, I think, are trying to fulfill their responsibilities in the Department of Justice. But it's clear that this effort that was spearheaded or authorized by William Barr and Donald Trump is a trolling exercise, going through a lot of documents, a lot of information, conducting a number of interviews to see what they can find as far as mistakes or even criminality. But, William Barr talks a lot about questioning the predication of the investigation of the Trump campaign in 2016. I really question the predication of this investigation, this review, which again seems to be an overarching effort to try to indict, maybe literally or figuratively, those individuals who were involved in the, I think, necessary, important, and appropriate investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 election that involved the U.S. persons during that time.
Former CIA Director John Brennan and Senator Angus King, thank you both. And before we go to break, Donny Deutsch, I mean, there's so many things wrong with this, and I hate to say that it doesn't seem to bother the Republicans. But for the Democrats, what should the strategy be? Because there's so many different ways in which they could be really going after this president, his decisions and decisions that he's made, whether it's on coronavirus, racial violence. But this seems to be such a high crime in many ways in terms of covering up information that could be protecting this president during an election.
Mika, the emotional side, the right side of my brain says, Jesus, the fraying of the democracy, these type of things, keeping information about the CDC, the postmaster stuff, obviously is vital. But the message to defeat Donald Trump is a failed presidency, 180,000 deaths climbing to 300,000, 50 million jobs lost, violence in the streets inspired by Donald Trump. Those are the kitchen table issues. These other issues, which frankly, long-term are even more dangerous, are not the answers for 60 days out. 60 days out. Stay close to home.
All right, still ahead, two members of the House Armed Services Committee, Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin and Mikey Sherrill, join the conversation on the heels of President Trump's escalating rhetoric on unrest around the country.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.